Billionaire forgets wallet at 3 a.m. Waitress's epic response haunts him forever. It was the witching hour in the city that never sleeps. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the deserted streets, where shadows danced under flickering streetlights. Just behind the tinted windows of a sleek black car, a billionaire named Victor Wolf shifted uneasily on the leather seat. He had everything money could buy: power, fame, influence. But at this moment, he was stripped down to a basic human vulnerability. He had forgotten his wallet. Not just any wallet, but a luxurious, handcrafted piece, stuffed with cash and cards. With a quick glance at his watch, fear tightened around his chest. It was nearly 3 a.m. The exclusive diner his driver had stopped at was supposed to be welcoming, a haven for those who shadowed the limelight. The wait staff, dressed immaculately in crisp uniforms, usually welcomed high rollers like him with open arms. He could picture it, the waitresses batting their eyelashes, giddy at the thought of casual chats with the rich and famous. But tonight, something felt different. A tangible tension thickened the air, like a storm waiting to unleash. As Victor entered, the bell above the door jingled, startling the late-night patrons. The waitress, a young woman named Sarah with emerald eyes that seemed to pierce through him, stood behind the counter. Her face didn't light up at the sight of him, instead, it hardened, wearing an expression he hadn't encountered before: disgust or defiance. He couldn't tell. "Can I help you?" Sarah asked flatly, her tone sharpening the edges of her words like broken glass. What was up with her? The flicker of surprise in her eyes as they locked onto his dwindled away, replaced by an indifference that sliced straight through his ego. $1 billion meant nothing here, not when his wallet was missing. With an uneasy chuckle, Victor attempted charm. "I think my wallet is on its way. Great little shop across town, you see." But she wasn't listening. Instead, she tapped her fingers on the counter, her impatience palpable. And then it happened. It was as if time froze for a brief beat. In the corner of the diner, Victor caught sight of an old man whose eyes were glued to the unfolding scene. A murmur rippled through a couple in a booth nearby, the words "how does he expect to eat?" setting off a chain of snickers that lit a flame of embarrassment in Victor's gut. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Victor's heart raced as he faced the waitress again, the pressure mounting. "Look, I can transfer the money right now." "Just sorry," she cut him off with a wave of her hand. "No cash, no food." That was it. No compassion, no sympathy. Just a swift dismissal that reverberated through the room like a gunshot. Outrage flared in Victor. Who did she think she was? But beneath that indignation bubbled a more troubling thought. Was this how people saw him? Just another entitled millionaire with nothing to show when stripped of his luxuries? Something in her gaze was hauntingly challenging. As he turned to leave, Victor felt a fire igniting within him, a sticky determination, a signal maybe? A sense that his night was only just beginning. He would haunt her like she haunted him, and he would make sure she felt it. What other secrets lay hidden in the dark corners of this city? What lay ahead that this chance encounter had triggered? Victor pushed through the diner's door, a heavy sigh escaping his lips, but he couldn't shake the feeling of her icy gaze. With every click of the door behind him, the laughter and whispers melded into a haze, almost like a taunt echoing in his mind. He stepped back onto the street, the cold air wrapping around him like a shroud. The city buzzed on with life, cabs whisking by, late-night partygoers laughing, the surrounding buildings casting long shadows that he cursed under his breath as he debated his next move. The humiliation from the diner lingered, gnawing at him. This wasn't just about a wallet, it was about power. He was used to being in control. Chosen paths bending to his will. But here he was, left broke, a failure against an unorthodox opponent. The waitress. As if drawn by an unseen force, Victor turned on his heel and marched back towards the diner. Every step ignited his stubborn resolve. A sting of embarrassment urged him to attack, but the urge to conquer felt stronger. If Sarah wanted to play this game, he would be an opponent she couldn't shake off so easily. Inside, he noticed the diner pulsing with energy now. The old man from earlier silently observed from his booth, an amused grin on his face. Patrons were more engrossed in their meals, treating Victor as if he were invisible. That sense of public scorn only fueled him more. "Need help with something?" Sarah asked, not bothering to look up as she polished glasses with a rag, her voice indifferent. "Actually, yes," he replied, his tone sharp as a knife. "I want to know what a person like you is doing in a place like this." The words fell between them like a lead weight, and he saw a flicker of something in her eyes, a challenge, perhaps? "I could ask you the same thing, can't I?" She shot back, now finally facing him, her irritation brimming over. He leaned over the counter, trying to summon the commanding presence he was accustomed to, but the atmosphere crackled with defiance. "I don't think you understand. I'm a man of influence, and I don't take rejection lightly. I could make your life incredibly better." "What? By buying me a drink?" She countered with a smirk. "Does your wealth buy me respect?" He bristled. "No, but maybe I could help you see your worth." Her laugh was like a bolt. Sharp and cutting, it sliced right through his bravado. "No thanks. I'm good without a rich guy trying to save me." Flames ignited in Victor again. "You have no idea who I am." "No, Victor. I think I know exactly who you are," she said, her voice softening just slightly. "You're a billionaire who forgot his wallet at 3 a.m. Just like everyone else, when their money runs out, you're left exposed." Unemployment drove people into that diner, her eyes reflected a jagged truth. Victor stepped back, caught off guard, a chaotic mix of frustration and astonishment tangled inside him. He could turn his back and slip back into the night, or he could fight back harder. "What if I helped you?" he proposed, his mind racing for a way to turn her distrust into some kind of leverage. Sarah crossed her arms, an eager smile kicking up one corner of her mouth. "You'll have to do better than that, billionaire. Convince me." The challenge reverberated as she leaned closer, a game unfolding in the precarious atmosphere. Her emerald eyes pierced through the facade he maintained, igniting a battle he didn't know he was entering. What if there was more to this waitress than met the eye? Darkness ensnared him, but was it fear or curiosity gnawing at his thoughts? As the clock ticked, Victor realized he was tangled in something bigger, pulling him in deeper, far beyond a simple wallet. Was he really willing to risk everything to unveil her story? Or would he lose more than he ever bargained for in the process? Victor's mind raced, the challenge thrumming in the air between them. He couldn't shake the tension as he studied Sarah. She was an enigma, captivating and frustrating all at once. What made her so sure of herself? Was it truly indifference she wore like armor, or was it something deeper, something he couldn't decipher? "Let's make this interesting," Victor said, his voice a low growl. He felt the stakes rising, the adrenaline pumping through him. "I'll show you what I'm capable of. And if you're not impressed, I'll walk away. No strings attached." Her brow arched, skepticism dancing in her eyes. "Interesting? You think you can charm me with some grand gesture? Show me the life of the rich and powerful? Not charm. Prove." The word hung in the air, heavy with implications. "I know people. I have connections that could open doors for you." "Doors for what? To a world that'll swallow me whole?" She scoffed. "I'm not some damsel waiting for a rescue. I can take care of myself just fine." "I don't doubt that," he countered, a fire igniting within him. "But let's not pretend you're thriving in this diner. You're stuck. Come work with me. I can show you the ropes, teach you how to navigate the game." He saw her eyes narrow, calculating. "What's your angle? What's in it for you?" Victor hesitated, taken aback by her fierce intelligence. She wasn't just a mere waitress. Sarah was sharp as a tack, and he needed to be wary. Yet, that only fueled his determination. It's a deal. I'm tired of playing by the rules of the past. I want someone who understands the grit of this city. For a moment, silence wrapped around them. The diner buzzed, life continuing on without them. Customers chatted, forks clinked against plates, the scent of grease and coffee lingered thick in the air. But nothing penetrated the electric tension sparked between Victor and Sarah. "What's your plan? You want me to help you navigate your way back to power?" She probed, her voice a low whisper, barely above the background noise. "No, I want you to help us both." He stepped closer, reducing the space that separated them. "Together, we can redefine our circumstances, rewrite our stories. But you have to trust me." "Trust?" Sarah laughed, but it felt brittle. "You storm in here, throw money around like confetti, and expect trust?" Victor swallowed hard, realizing the weight of her skepticism. "I know I have a reputation. But I'm walking a new path. If that means teaming up with a headstrong waitress, so be it." She studied him intently, her expression shifting like shadows across the diner walls. "Fine. I'll play your game. But I'm not your pawn." "Absolutely not. Partners. Equal footing," he insisted, narrowing the gap between them. Sparks crackled as their eyes locked, his pulse racing in the charged space. Just then, loud laughter erupted from a nearby booth, breaking the moment. Victor felt the shift in atmosphere, a reminder of the world outside their bubble. It was a sharp jab to reality, an unwelcome reminder that stakes were higher than they seemed. Victor's heart thumped against his chest. Could he really share power with someone like her? Could he trust her in this treacherous world where betrayals and corruption loomed just beyond the diner's glimmering neon lights? As they exchanged silent glances, unspoken words mingled. Truth settled in the air. Whatever they were about to embark on could ignite a wildfire or lead them straight into the flames, but before he could voice a commitment, the front door swung open. A cold draft swept in, bringing with it a figure that made Victor's blood run cold. A man in a sharp suit, glancing around the diner as if searching for something or someone. Victor's breath quickened. Who was he? What did he want? "Looks like one of your pasts just caught up with you," Sarah whispered, wide-eyed. Thoughts whirled in Victor's mind as he turned back to see the man locking eyes with him. An unmistakable thrill of fear tangled with curiosity raced through him. This might change everything. What had he just stepped into? And would he survive the fallout? Victor's heartbeat thrummed in his ears, synchronizing with the sinister clock on the wall, counting down the moments that felt perilously close to disaster. The man in the suit moved with a predatory grace, each step weighted with intention that sent a shiver up Victor's spine. It was too familiar, a ghost from his past resurrected. "Who is he?" Sarah's voice cut through the haze of uncertainty, breaking the tension like a knife. "Someone I thought I left behind," Victor admitted, jaw clenched tight as he forced himself to meet her gaze. "He's my past and, in the worst way, he's my present." The suited man stopped at their booth, a sly smile playing on his lips. "Victor," he drawled, eyes sparkling with a venomous delight. "Fancy seeing you here. I didn't expect to find you playing cowboy with the local help." "Leave her out of this, Marcus." Victor's voice dropped to a low growl. "Why?" "She's intriguing," Marcus replied, his eyes glinting in the neon light as they slid over Sarah like a snake sizing up prey. "I'd love to hear her thoughts on your little deal." "Get lost." Victor felt the anger rising in him, hot and righteous. He couldn't let his past absorb Sarah into its darkness. "Oh, but we both know it's not that simple." Marcus leaned closer, the smile fading. "You're not the only one who knows people. I have my own connections, you see. And they pay a pretty penny to know what you're really up to." Victor's gut twisted. He could feel the web tightening around him, every thread pulling him deeper into a nightmare he thought he had escaped. Had all his efforts to rebuild a life from the ashes been for nothing? "Is that a threat?" Sarah's voice was surprisingly steady, cutting through Victor's turmoil. "A warning," Marcus shot back, dismissively. Victor's been dabbling in things he doesn't understand. You're playing with fire, darling. Victor's mind raced. He couldn't let this happen. Not to her. Listen, Marcus, whatever you think you know, I know enough, Marcus interrupted, a smirk curling on his lips. I know that in this city, alliances shift like sand. And trust? It's a luxury no one can afford. If I were you, I'd be careful about who I get involved with, especially in the dark corners of our little game. What are you getting at? Sarah's eyes narrowed, a flicker of defiance igniting under Marcus's threats. Maybe I'm just curious about how much Victor is willing to risk, Marcus mused, glancing between them. Is he your knight in shining armor or your downfall? Victor's stomach nodded. He could feel the heat rising in the diner, the air thickening with unease. Everything around him felt electric, charged with unspoken danger. Stay out of my affairs, Victor said, voice low and strained, eyes locked onto Marcus, refusing to back down. A noble stance, but I think we both know how quickly those can change. Marcus stepped back, feigning innocence. I'll be watching, Victor. And you? Dear Sarah, enjoy the ride. It might get bumpy. With that, he turned and strolled towards the exit, his presence lingering like a bad taste. Sarah's expression morphed from anger to concern. Who is he to tell you what to do? Just a shadow from my past. He thrives on manipulation, Victor replied, heart pounding. He's dangerous. Dangerous how? Physically? Or something worse? She pressed, and Victor could see the cracks in her facade. He didn't want to see her frightened, especially not over him. Both, he admitted. If Marcus has a grip on this city, it's not just through brute force. He plays with people's lives. An eerie silence enveloped them, the diner sounds fading into background noise, replaced by the drum of Victor's heartbeat. He sensed the decision looming, the choice that could either seal their fates or shatter any chance of a future. Trust me, Sarah, he finally said, low but firm. We have to navigate this carefully. He'll come back. Her gaze pierced through the tension, weighing his words. And if I don't want to be part of this game? Victor's chest tightened. It was a fair question, one he couldn't escape. But as their connection sparked once more, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were deeper in than either of them anticipated. Just remember, he said quietly, the stakes are higher than they seem. As Sarah nodded slowly, the front door swung open again, the familiar chill slinking back in. This time, a wave of tension washed over them as another figure stepped in, a woman, dressed like a high-stakes player, glancing around with a knowing smile. Victor's heart dropped. Who else was coming for them? Was this the start of a war Victor wasn't prepared for? And when would it end? Victor's breath caught in his throat as the woman walked further into the diner. Her silhouette was sharp against the fluorescent lights, casting shadows that danced around her like ghosts. The muted chatter of late-night patrons faded into white noise. He could feel Sarah's tension beside him, the weight of their situation pressing down like an iron shroud. Who is she? Sarah whispered, her voice barely carrying over the pounding in his ears. I don't know. But she's not here for pie and coffee, Victor muttered, watching as the woman's gaze swept the room, landing directly on them. Victor, she called with a velvety tone, one that sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. It's been too long. He braced himself as she approached their booth, her heels clicking against the linoleum, echoing ominously. There was an air of confidence about her, as if she had every right to disrupt their fragile peace. Lucia, he finally replied, the name slipping from his lips like a curse. Smart man, she said, settling into the seat opposite him. Her piercing blue eyes were icy, a stark contrast to the warmth she pretended to exude. You remember me. Good. Why are you here? Victor clenched his fists beneath the table. If Marcus was a ghost from his past, Lucia was a full-blown nightmare. She leaned in, a predatory glint in her eyes. I've been watching you. You've stirred the pot in a way I didn't expect. Victor shot a quick glance at Sarah, who looked bewildered, shifting her weight uncomfortably. She needed to understand that these people weren't just players on a chessboard. They were the architects of chaos. "What do you want?" he demanded, trying to keep his composure, but inside he felt like a coiled spring, ready to snap. "Simple, really," Lucia replied with a charming smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I want to know how deep you're willing to dive into this mess you found yourself in. You're tangled in a web of alliances now, Victor. You might want to cut yourself free before it pulls you under." "Cutting ties isn't really my thing," he snapped, his anger flaring. "This is my life." "Is it?" she countered, raising an eyebrow. "Or is it just a facade? You're still just a boy pretending to be a man, trying to outrun shadows." The words hit home, the truth laced with venom. He gritted his teeth, issues from his past swirling back like festering smoke. "As much fun as this stroll down memory lane is," Victor said with forced calm, "I don't have time for your games." Lucia's laughter was sharp and cold. "You misunderstand. I'm not here to play games, Victor. I'm here to offer you a lifeline. Or would you prefer a noose?" "What do you mean?" Sarah interjected, her voice cutting through the rising tension. Lucia's gaze shifted towards her, and for a moment, there was something almost predatory in her regard. "Sweetheart, you don't want to be involved in this. Trust me." "What are you talking about?" Sarah's face scrunched up with indignation. Victor's stomach knotted. "She's trying to intimidate you," he said, voice low. "Don't listen to her." Lucia chuckled softly, leaning back with an air of satisfaction. "You should take your own advice, Victor. There are forces at play here that even you can't control." The clock on the wall ticked ominously, each second adding to the oppressive atmosphere. "I'll make you a deal," Lucia continued, "help me settle a score, and I can ensure that your ghosts are silenced once and for all." Victor felt the weight of her offer, heavy and menacing, like stone. This was no mere negotiation, it was a challenge, a lure into the dark. "And if I refuse?" he pressed, bracing for her answer. "Then you can watch everything unravel around you," she said with a smile that promised nothing but fear. "What will you do when the shadows come for you, Victor? Will you protect her?" Victor's heart pounded hard enough to drown out every thought. The stakes had just escalated, and every warning bell in his mind screamed for him to run. But where would he go? "What do you say?" Lucia leaned forward, eyes glimmering with a mix of threat and opportunity. Victor's mind raced, the weight of his choice growing heavier. The diner felt like a cage. Every eye was on them, watching, waiting. He exchanged a quick glance with Sarah, and in that moment, he knew he was deeper than he ever expected to be. "Are you willing to step into the dark with me?" he asked reluctantly, a tremor of uncertainty threading through his voice. Lucia's smile deepened. "Oh, Victor. It's about to get very interesting." As she spoke, the bell above the diner's entrance jingled again, heralding yet another arrival. Victor's breath caught. In an unexpected twist, the game had invited even more players into the mix, ones whose presence could change everything. Victor's gut twisted. Who could it be now? Just when he thought things couldn't get worse, a new layer of danger and uncertainty entered the room. The door swung open, and an icy gust of wind swept through the diner, rattling the plastic menus on their tables. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the light outside, tall, broad-shouldered, with a posture that screamed authority. Victor's heart sank as recognition sank in like a lead weight in his chest. "Marcus," he breathed, the name barely escaping his lips. Lucia's face turned to ice, her amusement fading. "I didn't expect you to come so soon," she said, her voice almost cheeky, but Victor could sense the tension lacing her words. The very air in the room felt alive, crackling with an impending confrontation. "Victor," Marcus called, stepping inside, shaking off the cold. His gaze swept the diner, landing on Lucia first before shifting to the booth where Victor and Sarah sat. "You've made quite a mess for yourself." Victor's muscles tightened. There was something in Marcus's tone, a mocking lilt that sent a chill down his spine. I'm not in the mood for your games tonight, Marcus. Oh, but this isn't a game, Marcus replied, his grin widening as he approached. This is business. And you, my friend, are in the middle of something much bigger than just personal regrets. Get out of here, Victor snapped, frustration boiling over. He couldn't let Marcus disrupt the fragile conversation he had been having with Lucia. There was too much at stake, Marcus laughed, the sound rich and deep, like a storm rolling in. Oh, but I'm afraid I can't do that. Not when you're making such poor decisions. You really should consider your alliances. He nodded towards Lucia with mock reverence, his smirk never faltering. Unless you want to find yourself in deeper waters. Victor clenched his jaw, turning to Sarah, whose face had gone pale. Stay close, he murmured, his resolve hardening. She needed to understand that this was a haunted chess game, and every piece mattered. Lucia's gaze darted between the two men, her previous bravado set aside. Marcus, she said, her voice cool. What do you want? What do I want? Marcus echoed, feigning an innocent expression. It's what I need that matters. Victor here has something I want, but it seems he's busy making deals with the devil, he said, eyes narrowing on Lucia. Enough. Victor shouted, drawing a few curious glances from other patrons. You're the devil in this situation. Stop playing your games. Whatever you want, I'm not interested. Marcus leaned in, his voice dropping low, conspiratorial. You have no idea what you're playing with. This isn't about you anymore, Victor. It's about survival. If you refuse Lucia's offer, you might as well pack your bags and leave town. He needed to stand firm, to show that he wouldn't be intimidated. But the words shot through him like ice. The last thing he wanted was to move again, to run from the chaos that always seemed to find him. What are you two even talking about? Sarah's wide-eyed confusion was palpable, a bright beacon in the darkening tension. Victor shot her a look, urging her to keep quiet. He could feel the walls closing in, the stakes continuing to climb endlessly. If Marcus had come here for answers, it meant he was far too involved. He was a puppet master, and Victor was still tangled in his strings. Will you help me? Lucia's voice cut through the haze. The power had shifted, she was already regrouping, a predator honing in. We can both benefit from this, Victor. Even more than you know. In that moment, uncertainty gnawed at him. The stakes felt unreal, and the diner, once a refuge in their chaotic life, now felt like a stage where all three players were vying for control. Victor inhaled sharply, sweat beading on his brow. What happens if I refuse? Refusal isn't an option, my old friend, Marcus smirked, stepping back, the enormity of his presence suffocating. You'll have to decide whether to join us, or watch everything you care about crumble around you. As the clock ticked ominously in the background, the diner door swung open once again, and this time, it was a pair of suited men who stepped in. The look on their faces was serious, filled with intent. Victor froze. Who were they? What further twist awaited him here, under the harsh diner lights in this hour of reckoning? Suddenly, it became crystal clear, whatever fragile hold he had left on control was about to slip away entirely. The suited men strode in with a purpose, cutting through the tense atmosphere like a knife. Their eyes, cold and calculating, swept the diner, settling in on Victor, Marcus, and Lucia. The muffled conversations of the other patrons faded into an uneasy silence as they became spectators of an impending storm. One of the men, tall and lean with sharp features, pointed directly at Victor. You need to come with us. Now. His voice was low, yet it carried an authority that brooked no argument. Victor felt his heart quicken. Who are you? He managed to say, trying to steady his shaking hands. The shadows hanging over him seemed to deepen, mingling with the flickering fluorescent lights of the diner. People who are concerned about your choices, the other man replied, no hint of sympathy in his tone. We've been watching you. You're in over your head. Lucia took a step back, her expression shifting from cunning to pure alarm. Wait, You can't just take him. Shut it, Lucia, Marcus interjected. His eyes glinted as he watched the unfolding tension, a hint of enjoyment flickering beneath his restrained exterior. You're not in control anymore. Victor's body went rigid. He scanned the diner, desperate for an ally. Sarah was frozen in her booth, her eyes darting between Victor and the invaders, her confusion turning into a mask of fear. He could feel the weight of the moment settle heavily on his shoulders. Was he really about to be whisked away into some unknown danger? What do you want from me? Victor asked, trying to keep his voice steady even as panic clawed at his insides. Let us not play this game, the first man said, stepping closer. You know why you're wanted. We've been cleaning up after your mess for too long. It's time for you to face the music. Victor's mind raced. Cleaning up a mess? What had he done? He thought of the countless nights he'd spent trying to outrun his past, the decisions that had trapped him in a cycle of chaos. He glanced at Marcus, whose smirk had widened at Victor's undeniable discomfort. Let him go, Victor demanded, trying desperately to maintain a facade of strength. I want to go with you. You don't have any right to interfere. Right or wrong doesn't matter now. You're involved whether you like it or not. The second man spoke, sliding his hands into his pockets, exuding an unsettling calm. Make this easy on yourself. You have someone watching your back, Victor. If they want to keep you safe, they need to know your location. With a sudden realization, Victor's breath caught in his throat. They? Who are you talking about? It doesn't matter now, Marcus said, stepping forward, confidence radiating from him like heat from a flame. What matters is that you comply, or face the consequences. And believe me, they want to be pretty. The diner seemed to shrink around him, the noise fading into a distant hum. Victor thought of Sarah, of Lucia, and even once, the fleeting camaraderie they had shared. But now, Marcus stood tall, a puppeteer pulling strings he couldn't see, and Victor felt himself spiraling. Victor! Screamed Sarah, her voice snapping him back to the moment. Her wide eyes glowed with a mix of fear and determination. Don't do this. Your choices matter, Lucia added, urgency in her voice as she stepped forward, her demeanor shifting. You have to think, but the suited men were already advancing, their movements practiced and precise. In a flash, Victor realized, he was losing control all over again. Before he could respond, the diner door swung open for a third time, and in walked a woman draped in shadows, her presence commanding attention. For a brief instant, all eyes were on her. Victor's heart raced. Who was she? What role did she play in this perilous game unfolding before him? With every passing second, the walls of his world seemed to constrict tighter around him. Get behind me! Victor shouted at Sarah, reaching for her, but it was too late. The room was spinning. Choices were crumbling. As the tension reached its peak, time seemed to pause for a heartbeat. The woman stepped into the light, and Victor felt a jolt of recognition. His mind whirled. What dark truth awaited them all in the storm about to break? The next moment could change everything, and he could feel the weight of that decision pressing down like a noose. The woman stood tall, her dark hair cascading down like a waterfall of midnight. A sharp angle defined her jawline, and her eyes, shimmering with unreadable intensity, bore into Victor's trembling soul. One heartbeat stretched into eternity as silence swept the diner, a thick fog of suspense enveloping the room. Step away from him, she commanded in a voice that shimmered like glass clear, cold, yet filled with an unmistakable authority. The suited men paused, their confident strides faltering as they took in her presence. Victor felt hope blossom in his chest, but it was quickly overshadowed by a gut-wrenching suspicion. Who was this woman? Did she come to rescue him, or was she another player in this twisted game? Do you really think you can just walk in here and demand him? The tall man sneered, his irritation palpable as he sized her up. Competitiveness danced in the air between them like lightning ready to strike. I didn't come here to argue, she said, her gaze steady and unwavering. I came to take Victor back. He doesn't belong to you. Victor blinked, his heart pounding against his ribs. Back? To where? Panic surged as questions flared in his chest. The stakes were rising, and he felt trapped in a web that was growing tighter by the second. The air became thick with tension. Patrons at the diner shifted uncomfortably in their seats, unsure of what to think. Whispers began to ripple through the dimly lit space, darting from booth to booth like wildfire. Victor, is she telling the truth? Do you know her? Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper, but the fear in her words hung heavy between them that he wanted to scream that he didn't know. But the familiarity in the woman's gaze cut deep, hitting notes buried in his memory. Images flooded his mind, glimpses of laughter, confiding secrets under stars, the warmth of a shared moment before everything spiraled. A name danced on his tongue but slipped away like fog in the morning sun. Leave now, and you'll forget this ever happened, the tall man urged, his tones suddenly deeper, almost pleading. Forget? She said, her voice trembling with indignation. You think this is a negotiation? With a swift movement, she slipped something from her pocket, an object that shimmered in the dim light. A small device, but its purpose was lost in the chaos unfolding. Victor's heart raced, knowing that whatever it was, it would change everything. Victor! Lucia shouted, suddenly fierce as if she had been awakened from her own daze. You have to decide. She can't get you out of here on her own. You need to make the call. A harsh smile twisted Marcus's lips as he watched the scene unfold, reveling in the chaos. This isn't a fairy tale, darling. Choose, Victor. Which side are you on? Both, the woman declared, her voice rising above the clamor, an echo of hope trapped in despair. There's a third way. Victor's thoughts crashed together like a storm, lightning illuminating a kaleidoscope of possibilities. He thought of how he had managed to survive by evading responsibility, yet each decision he had made brought him here, to a place where he no longer recognized himself. Sarah was still behind him, fear etched in her features. Lucia stood firm, a resolve igniting in her eyes that begged him to find the truth within. And then there was the woman, almost a ghost from the past, yet alive, vibrant, demanding his attention. Victor. Make your choice. They yelled in unison, the words reverberating like a drum in his ears. The suited men shifted, their patience fraying, ready to intervene. Panic bloomed anew in Victor's chest, cracking open the fragile shell of his resolve. Time felt like sand slipping through his fingers. He had to act. He had to choose, but a whisper curled through his mind. Who was he? In that split second, the weight he had been carrying felt both immense and light, as clarity washed over him like dawn breaking through night. One question echoed louder than the rest. Would he dare to step into the light, or retreat back into the shadows? As the situation spiraled, he looked into the eyes of the woman who challenged fate. What lay ahead? The answer lingered just out of reach, waiting for him to embrace the unknown. The diner pulsed with tension, breaths held like secrets waiting to explode. Victor could feel the weight of expectant eyes, patrons rooting for him or against him, he couldn't tell. He blinked again, trying to clear the haze clouding his thoughts. Victor, the woman said softly, her voice weaving through the mayhem like a comforting breeze. You know me. Trust that feeling. Remember who you are. Shadows flickered across her face, the light dimmed by the urgency of the moment. Just a flash of childhood memory? A long-lost friend? Panic and recognition fought a brutal battle in his gut, and he clenched his fists. Stop stalling. Marcus yelled, his expression hardening as he stepped forward, drawing attention back to himself. This is your last chance. Choose wisely. Victor felt the oppressive heat of Marcus's aggressive aura closing in. Something in his voice made Victor South fear bubble dangerously close to the surface, the threat crystal clear. Lucia moved closer, her presence offering a sliver of strength. Don't be fooled, she whispered urgently, her eyes darting to the woman. We don't know her intentions. This could be a trap. The woman fixed her gaze on Lucia, something fierce brewing beneath her calm exterior. I want to let him fall into further darkness. Victor is still in there. You just need to help him remember. Tears glimmered in Sarah's eyes as the tension pulled tighter, squeezing the room until it felt suffocating. She was shaking, and it hurt him to see her so fragile. The very air vibrated with silent cries of desperation. Please, Victor. You have to decide. Time morphed into a slow tremor, seconds dragging and warping. The diner's fluorescent lights flickered, casting an eerie glow that magnified the chaos. The suited men, muscles taut, exchanged short glances. Growing impatient, the woman stepped forward until she was inches from Victor, her breath warm against his skin. There was urgency in her eyes as she brought the shimmering device closer. This can help you. It unlocks memories, truths about who you are and where you came from. It will show you the way. Kate's earlier reminder gnawed at Victor. Life had changed, but there was still a choice. He could either bring light back or succumb to darkness. What if it's a lie? He stammered, doubt lacing his words. What if this gets me in deeper? If you don't take the risk now, you'll never escape, she insisted, her voice unwavering. This is your moment, Victor. Choose yourself for once. She pressed the device into his palm, and he stared at it, wavering as the heartbeat of the diner echoed his racing thoughts. Amid the chaos, one undeniable truth rang clear: he had spent long enough hiding from reality. The tall man stepped forward, his expression a mask of menace. We want to let you leave. This isn't a game you can play. It's far too dangerous. He turned, alarm flashing in his eyes as Victor inhaled sharply. The choice flattened out before him: embrace the path to his past or succumb to the tightening noose around his neck. That singular moment bathed in tension, the ribbon of time stretched, and Victor made eye contact with each person around him: Sarah, Lucia, and the woman. All were steeped in an expectation of something, someone, to stand against the tide. Enough! He shouted, sudden resolve flooding through his veins. I'll choose. But what his heart willed was quickly interrupted by a sudden crash. The diner doors burst open, and a figure silhouetted against the harsh outside light, a figure from his past that no one expected. The temperature dropped as all heads turned, silence falling like a heavy blanket. Victor felt the blood drain from his face as a name teetered on the edge of his mind, threatening to split the very fabric of reality he thought he understood. Could one decision truly unravel it all? Victor's mind reeled as the figure stepped into the diner, casting an ominous shadow over the charged moment. Time slowed, and he felt trapped again in that suffocating space where choices collided. The face he recognized amidst a whirlpool of emotions was drenched in conquest and bad memories. Elena, the name escaped him like a whisper carried off by a storm. Elena was his sister, long lost but never forgotten, and here she stood, framed in that doorway, eyes dark with secrets and intentions. Her reputation circled him like a vulture. She had her hooks in the city, connections twisted deeper than Victor could imagine. Was this a rescue? Or had she come to reinforce his chains? Victor, Elena said, her voice like ice cutting through the heat of the diner. I've come to bring you home. Home? Your home is a prison. Victor shot back, feeling his heart beat faster. He turned towards Sarah, dismay twisting his stomach at the sight of her wide eyes filled with fear. This wasn't just about him anymore. She was caught in the crossfire of his past. Everyone has their price, Elena continued, glaring at the suited men as if they were mere players in her game. And you, she gestured dismissively at Marcus, you're nothing compared to what I can offer. Stay out of this, Elena. I'm not going back with you, Victor said firmly, finding defiance building in him like fire. He had fought too long to reclaim his agency. Every moment spent trapped in that suffocating world of her influence felt like another choice stolen. You don't understand what's at stake, she pressed, stepping further inside the diner. I came to save you. Save? He spat, the word burning his tongue. You don't know the meaning. The air crackled with tension as Victor scanned the table. He could feel the eyes on him, everyone watching, waiting to see how the standoff would unfold. Sarah's worried expression made his resolve break through a tense fissure. He turned to her, the warmth of that look grounding him amidst chaos. Victor, what do we do? Sarah's voice trembled with fear. Her vulnerability somehow made him stronger. He needed to protect her, not drag her into his murky depths. You have to choose, Victor, Marcus taunted, feeding off the tension like a shark in bloodied waters. You can't outrun your past forever. Or maybe I'm here to face it, Victor said through clenched teeth, steeling his resolve. His path forward had become clearer, glimmering behind the fear. I won't let anyone drown me in their choices. Not you, not Elena, not Marcus. I'm done being their pawn. With that, he turned back to the woman he'd almost forgotten, who had stood steadfast beside him. There was light in her gaze, the promise of truth and understanding. I'll take the chance, he declared as he held out the shimmer of the device she had given him. I'll unlock my past, step into the light, and reclaim what's mine. As uncertainty flooded him, memories cascaded through his mind, stirred by the motion of his heart. There had always been a choice, the choice to fight and break free from the cycle of manipulation. He took a deep breath as the world around him spun, his pulse thrumming in time with a newfound certainty. Elena's eyes narrowed, anger swirling. You think you can escape the life I've built for you? She shouted, but there was a tremor of fear lacing her voice. I'm not running. I'm reclaiming. Victor's voice broke like thunder, echoing through the diner. The moment hung suspended until it snapped like a tightrope finally frayed. In one fluid motion, he pressed the device to his temple, a rush of visuals slamming into him like waves crashing onto rocks. Ghosts of laughter, bitterness, and regret melded into a mosaic of his life. Flickering memories spun wildly before him, drawing him in a kaleidoscope of truth, unveiling the lies he had been told, and the remnants of his family strewn wide. Victor! Sarah cried, but he was lost in the moment that he felt the device pulsating, memories flooding back, connections, their family history intertwined with darkness. The shadows of Elena had been the weight on his shoulders, never allowing him to breathe freely. A kid shaped by her ambition, forced into corners he never chose. And now he had a chance to reshape his path. To prove there was strength in vulnerability, connection in acceptance, and hope in stepping into the light. As he plunged deeper, the diner began to blur around him, the old paper menus, the clinking silverware, the whispered gasps of startled patrons fading like echoes within a hollow cave. Victor pushed through, undying determination anchoring him as the vision flared brightly. Answers chased away the shadows until he stood in the flood of brilliance, arm extended to those he held dear. This is who I am. He breathed, finding himself surrounded by his past but free to choose anew. He turned, voice steady for all to hear. I'm not defined by anyone except myself. Victor's eyes found Sarah's, searching for understanding, and he felt her courage beckon back. Together, we can work through this. You're not just my past. You are my future. What are you talking about? Elena demanded. I'm done dealing with your shadows, he replied. If you want a war, you'll find that I'm no longer afraid. The diner erupted into chaos as Marcus and his team surged forward, but Victor stood firm, the energy shifting like a tide. We're not going anywhere without a fight. The suited men hesitated, suddenly unsure of their roles. Though tension remained, Victor surged ahead. There was power in his voice, rising up like a phoenix from ash. Every eye settled on him, including the years of bitterness and resentment building how to craft this moment, the truth beckoning. A gust of wind swelled through the diner, carrying with it a sense of new beginnings. This moment wasn't the end, rather, it was a birth of honesty, a chance to rewrite the script. Elation mingled with fear, adrenaline coursing through him as he readied for what came next, and through it all, he caught another glimpse of Sarah standing strong, eyes gleaming with understanding. Let us shake the foundations, shall we? That was when the bell above the entrance jangled once more, and for a heartbeat, Victor feared the worst was yet to come. But as he looked through the doorway, the familiar figure of the waitress from earlier stepped into the frame, her face lit with determination. Looks like you guys could use a hand, she said, stepping forward like an angel from the shadows. The weight of a final decision hung in the air like a shroud, but this time Victor was ready to face it. Together, he vowed, lifting his chin and planting his feet firmly on the ground. A fire ignited in the corners of his heart, illuminating the path ahead, and as the diner buzzed back to life around him, the world seemed just slightly brighter. The stakes had shifted, and the game was afoot that if this was what freedom felt like, he would fight to keep it. But before the night became a new dawn, Victor knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. And to the audience witnessing everything that had just transpired, the takeaway was resonant, clear, and impactful: this is the moment you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this unbelievable conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this finale. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't let it end here.